All right. Let me share my screen again. Thank you all so much for your patience with that again. And we will pick up right where we left off. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Perfect. So yeah, so if it's a blog, you want to publish at least minimum of 500 words, and like minimum. If it's a blog, then a little longer is even better. Okay. All right. Now some SEO don'ts. We talked a little bit about some of the do's that you want to do when you're thinking about your keywords. Now some keyword SEO don'ts. Do not place your keyword frequently throughout text in unnatural locations. I know I said that as a like in the do's, don't do this, but I want to make it very plain. This is a no in the world of SEO. You are only hurting yourself. Ultimately, you're hurting your business. So just don't do it. Google and SEO and search engine platforms, they recognize this as keyword stuffing, and they will push you further down. So again, I stress a lot. We know this is a lot of work, and you have to think about it. This is why a lot of people do hire someone to manage their SEO. But again, I'll stress you can do it yourself if your budget don't allow you to bring in an expert to manage that, because a lot of it is just a time commitment. But it will recognize that as keyword stuffing, and you don't want that to happen. Do not optimize a post for a misspelled word just because people search for it that way. Okay. So sometimes you'll notice, when you search something, if you accidentally misspelled it, Google will kind of have it in red right under there. Did you mean? And I'm showing results for this instead. Google don't recognize misspelled words. Okay. Google don't award it. It does not reward misspelled words. You're not doing your business any favor trying to be cool, trying to be hip when you do stuff like that. Google just does not recognize it. So don't do it. Don't make any of your backlinks have it. Just don't do it. It's I don't know why you'd want to, but it happens all the time. We talked about this a little bit during week 1 about making sure your URLs are spelled correctly, because so many times people didn't realize they put in that extra I and never go back and fix it. Don't do that, okay? Because it does not help you. Do not pay for backlinks. Okay, backlinks. During this series, we have not talked a lot about backlinks and all the other type of links when it comes to SEO. But backlinks are really when you're paying. It's not, you don't always have to pay, but backlinks is when someone clicks on something that leads them to your content. So, someone can come to my website, but I'm telling them about, podcasting and various podcasting. So I may have a link that leads them to your site, Lorena. You don't want to pay for those backlinks, because what's the point? You can literally just ask. You can literally just ask me to do that. I'm just going to say yes or no. And on a SEO standpoint, really honestly, the only thing that works when you're paying is the PPC, pay per click, that we talked about. That's really the main thing that from a money standpoint. Okay. Do not extend, again, this is mainly for social media, blogs, that type of SEO. Do not extend a post for word count purposes. Okay. You don't want to just make something fluffy just because. And if your keyword is, for example, is why activities for kids are great, do not repeat words like why in it. That's not what I mean when I'm saying the how and all of that. That's why I say put it in your title. Google it's very important to Google that you are bringing value to what the user is searching for, because that's what makes Google important. We trust Google as a source, so Google is making sure they as a source are providing the best access or the best information that they can find. And if the information is constantly leading us to stuff that's not quality or valuable to us, that brings Google down. So Google takes their SEO very seriously, and as you should with your business, okay? So let's talk a little bit about, some of you probably already have websites, already have content. A lot of the stuff we've been talking about focuses a lot on new stuff that you're producing. But let's talk a little bit about improving your SEO, improving stuff on that's already existing on your site or wherever else you may have it. Don't be afraid to go back and optimize your existing content, your existing posts, your existing pages on your website. To include your keywords that Google may not have already attributed to them. And if Google have attributed to them, but you've learned something today, or you thought of something that may improve that, don't be afraid to go back and do it. But the goal is not to take away from or replace your existing content. Because again, if you did everything we talked about during week 1, you now know whether or not Google recognizes you even on the internet. Like if Google don't even recognize you on the internet, then you can probably think of yourself as a new business on the internet, okay? And you need to do all that stuff we talked about during week 1. And if you weren't with us during week 1 and you're here today, you will get all of these presentations. You can always find everything on our Facebook page, and you can always email us and we'll send it to you so that you know exactly what I'm referring to. But if you didn't go through all of those steps yet, then you're probably safe to feel like you're a new business on the internet. But let's just say you recognize that you're on the web, Google recognizes you, Google directs people to your business, but you need to improve that SEO because you want to end up on page 1, or you want to be the top result, or whatever the case may be. So you don't want to completely erase what you have in that case. You just want to improve it. You want to enhance the content. And you can start by optimizing posts that have, I suggest you start by optimizing posts that has a lead capture or a sale in place to maximize your income as a small business. Those are, if you're going to go back and improve any of your existing content, those are the 2 things that I think you focus on. Any content that you have that you could improve that allows you to capture leads or that allows you to maximize your income. Those are the type of content that you want to quickly optimize. So when optimizing an existing post, it's important to know what not to do. Okay, so that's what you see on the screen. Do not change URLs without setting up redirects. We mentioned this briefly. If it wasn't last week, it was the week before, about people have dead links on their websites and things of that nature. This is tied to that. So if you can help it and you have an existing website, do not change the URL to a page or to a blog or to don't change the URL itself if you change the content. If you do change the URL, or if your website, the way your website is built, it automatically changes the URL because you changed, if the change was to the title, for example, and if you change the title, so it changed your URL link, you want to make sure the old URL redirects to this new link, and you do all this from the back of your website, okay? And just to ease some mental tension for anyone that's not too familiar with all of this, next month we are talking about websites. So hopefully that kind of helps link some of this information. But do not change your URLs without setting up redirects. So I'm not saying don't ever change your URLs. It's okay. But, and I'll use an example. Before I was the director here at Hustle, our website was hustlews.com. And it changed to hustlews.org while I became in leadership. And we never redirected it. So for a year, people would go to hustlews.com and say, well, your website is down. I'm like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? So it happens all the time. People don't think about it. It's just one of those things. Do not, and I don't think we ever redirected it. Eventually it just died, I hope. I never actually checked. I'm terrible. Don't do what I do what I say. But yeah, do not change it without setting up redirects. Do not remove important keywords or big chunks of text from a blog or from a page on your site that is already ranking high in search results. Okay? Do not do that. If it's already, if you can make changes to the content, but don't make major changes. If it's already ranking high, you don't want to negatively impact it by making major changes. And do not make changes over and over and over again to the same content. You optimize it, make whatever things you think is necessary, and you move on. If you do these things that you see that's here on this screen, if you do any of these things, what will happen is the post will likely, the page, whatever, will likely be knocked down in Google rankings. Is it possible that it will resurface? Yes, but you don't know what that time frame is before Google figures out that you made the improvements, okay? Because it's possible that Google would figure out you made improvements and you have new keywords and you're ranking differently and you could eventually move up. But if you're already ranking high, just be smart about the improvements you make to existing content, okay? All right, so reasons to change or replace existing keywords. Because some of you may be thinking, well, why? Why would I change it if I think these are my existing keywords? Well, first, if you do the work that we talked about in the beginning of today's session to make sure you're using the right keywords. You did your keyword research. You realize in the topics that I'm looking at, these keywords are what I should be using, and they're nowhere on my site, or it's nowhere in my blog or whatever, right? So obviously, I think at that point you recognize you need to do some optimization. But some reasons to change it is, one, they are not bringing in your target audience. So let's just say you are ranking and people will click on your site, but then they realize this isn't what I was looking for. This isn't what I want. And they come to you, they might call you and you're like, no, I don't do that. I don't offer that service. I don't sell that product. You're wasting your time. You're wasting their time. Okay. So that means something in your keywords is misleading about what you provide. So if they're not bringing in your target audience, you may want to look at your keywords again. You're not ranking on Google at all. That means you need to do some changes to your keywords. I was going to say more than likely, but it's pretty much absolutely. If you're not ranking, something's wrong. Now, not to say you always have to rank on the first page immediately, because that does take time. Again, that crawling that I talked about during the first week, Google has to crawl your site. And, I talked to you about making sure people are visiting your site and that you are visiting your site, because Google clocks all of that. Google understands, oh, people are going to the site. What are they going to the site for? So that crawling happens, it's organic most times. If you're not ranking at all, then something's probably happening there with your keywords. There's little to no search volume for your keywords on Google for your content on Google. Meaning when you put in that stuff in Google and there's nothing, Google didn't auto-populate something that people are searching for, or you finish the phrase and is, very rarely do this happen to me, but I do see it sometimes where there's little to no content for Google to provide me in something that I search for. If that's happening with some of your phrases when you put it in there, that means you need to rethink that phrase. You need to rethink the keywords you're using, okay? And if they're not bringing any traffic to your website, and that's what you're going to have to check on the back end of your blog, the back end of your website. We talked about your Google Analytics. That's where your Google Analytics become important to you. We talked about that during week 1. If they're not bringing in that traffic, you need to look at your existing keywords. Okay. And if you're not sure which of your pages or which of your blogs or which of whatever, if you're not sure if they're already ranking well on Google, log into your Google Analytics and find your page search results. That's the simplest way to do it. And if you do have Google Analytics, I believe they send you, depending on how you have your settings set up, they send you regular updates. But if you need to know immediately, You just log into your Google Analytics and look at it and see if you're ranking or if you're not ranking. When you publish or update a page or a blog, whatever, especially if the URL has changed to it, submit that to Google. It's quick and easy, and it helps your post rank faster. It helps your page rank faster. I linked right here. I linked on the page. It's underlined how you can submit your new URL or your change to Google so that it helps crawl it faster. It clocks it faster. So do it if you make those updates. Take the 5 minutes to update Google and submit the change. I will say this Google submission link, when you see it, if you are a new website or if you published a new blog or anything like that, it's the most effective in those cases. I want to be clear about that. But if you make changes, you still want to go ahead and submit it because it helps you rank faster, even though you already had existing content. If you choose to do any Google submissions, don't make it a habit to do it like every day or whatever like that. I would say maximum, and I don't know how often you would plan to do this, but if you do your SEO work every week, don't do this more than 2 or 3 times a week. If you do your SEO work once a month, then, you know, maybe you can submit 10 at one time for the month or something like that. You know, just don't make it a habit to do it. It's not like social media where you want to constantly be submitting something on social media. Don't do that with the Google submission. Okay, just wanted to make sure you are aware of this. Where are we? We're almost done, guys. These are just some quick definitions that I wanted you to be familiar with. Once you go into things like your Google Analytics and you're looking at your keywords, you may see some of these things. These are things that matter to you. So I think I've used some of them throughout this series, but just so you have access to it and know what they mean. Obviously, what clicks are, that's basically how many times someone clicks on your website or on your particular link. And then, you know, you have your click-through rate. That's what CTR is, your click-through rate. And the thing to know at your click-through rate when you're looking at your analytics is the higher the number, the better. Google likes that. You'll rank higher if your click-through rate number is higher. Okay. They'll tell you your average position. You'll see your sessions. You don't want bounce rates. We talked about those dead links and all of that. You want to get rid of them. You know, all of that stuff hurts you. So you want your bounce rate to be low. So these are just some things that I think will be helpful as you kind of navigate your analytics and you're thinking about your keywords and things of that nature, and you're paying for your test of your pay-per-click on certain phrases to see what's working and what's not. It's helpful for you to understand some of these definitions. Okay. So just wanted it to be available to you. And then a quick checklist. So as you review this presentation, these are the things that you want to make sure, most of these things, hopefully you are doing along the way as we talked about them, but you want to make sure that you do it. So this SEO checklist kind of breaks down the broad steps of most of the things we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. One, register with the Google Search Console. We talked extensively about that. So you want to make sure you register with that. Again, it's free. I think I even mentioned that it wouldn't hurt for you to register with Bing Webmaster Tools. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but you know, it's a simple way to maybe outthink your competitors to also put yourself on Bing Webmaster Tools. I stress this every single week. Y'all heard me drill it down your throat. Claim or create your Google My Business listing. If you've been with us for 3 weeks and you haven't done this yet, I am doing something wrong. You definitely need to make sure that your Google My Business listing is up and running and accurate and correct. I mean, remember how we tied this last week to navigation-based SEO and how you're going to use, how people are using it in that way. So you definitely, if you don't do anything else from this series, the first two things on this checklist, please do it for your business. If you ignore everything else that I said, the first two things on this checklist, do it for your business, okay? And then I really want to stress conducting the keyword research that we talked about, and really understanding your searcher intent by doing that keyword research and choosing those keywords and making those lists and understanding what's important to what people are searching for as it relates to your business. You want to choose and maintain categories on your website. This relates back to what we talked about during week 1 and structuring your site, structuring your blogs, and organizing your keywords in a way that it makes sense in that way. That's that slide that we talked about if you can use your keyword in your title, if you can use your keyword in your first sentence, all of that stuff it ties into structuring your keyword into your page as well. We talked about long tail keywords. Use them. People are not searching for just one word. They're searching for phrases. Think about it in the way that your users or your potential customers thinking about it. Test your keywords. We did not go into a lot of detail with that in this series about testing your keywords with pay per click. I kept mentioning it, but we didn't go into detail about it. But once you have your keywords, once you have your things set up, it's just like we talk about in a lot of the marketing outside the box. Put a little buck behind that bank. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but just test it to see if it's working, to see if you need to make some changes, or to see if it's doing what it needs to do for you. So test it, look at your analytics on it, and make sure it's working for you. Optimize your titles. Choose a topic that falls into one of your categories. Choose a title that is click-worthy. Choose a title that is clear, concise, and answers questions. Choose a title that is click-worthy. Choose a title that is clear, concise, and answers questions. And this is primarily if you're doing a blog or if you have a page that talks about what you offer. Okay, so I stress that click-worthy, clear, concise, and answers a question when it can. Okay, so I wanted to stress that because that ties directly to your meta description as well. And that's it for me. I know we're right at time. The homework that I have for you is basically to go through that checklist. Go through that checklist with your business, whether it takes you a month, whether it takes you 3 months, whether it takes you 6 months. You need to do it in order to do best for your business. Or if you're hiring someone, go back through this presentation, find the slide with all the questions, and make sure they answer all those questions for you so you're getting the best out of your SEO. I know we're right at 1:30, so if you have to leave, I understand, but I do want to invite you to Marketing Outside the Box. Next month, we're talking about Wix versus WordPress and building your own website. We're literally going to help you build your website. I heard from many of you that that's a struggle and that's something you need help with. So we're going to help you. We're not going to build your website, but we're going to help you with some of the basics as it relates to that from a marketing standpoint, so that you know if you want to build a Wix site or a WordPress site, assuming you're building your own site, and some of the key things you need to know. How that relates to your SEO, how that relates to your social media marketing, how that ties into your content marketing, all of the above. So definitely join us next month for that. And with that, do we have any questions? Any questions about today's presentation? And I'm seeing Lorena only, and I think she said no, and I'm assuming the silence is no questions. I hope that silence means I did a good job and you all are able to use some of this content for your business. And with that,
Hey,
definitely,
Madam,
yes.
they're asking for your Calendly link.
Okay, is Tasha here? Okay, if Tasha's not here, let me drop it because Tasha can drop it here real quick, but let me find it. 1 second. I should have it just readily available, but I don't. I will drop it both in the chat and on Facebook. I will drop it in the, let me stop sharing my screen. That may be easier. On Facebook, I will drop it in the comment section. And then what I'll do is have Tasha included when we send the presentation to you. There it goes in the chat now. We'll have Tasha included in the email so that you know that you have that link readily available to you. Tony, if you can also drop the hustle email in there for me, please. If you have any questions beyond today, after you review the presentations, everyone, you know that we are here to help in any way, shape and form, as it relates to your business and your marketing needs. So reach out. We're happy to help. We're not a marketing firm, so we're not going to do any of your marketing work for you. But we can definitely recommend people who can do it for you, but our services are free to you in your entrepreneurial journey. Okay. So with that,
so sorry, guys. It seems we might have some new people on the call. Could you explain to Adrian how they can get the recording of this Zoom call?
So Adrian, we will automatically send it to anyone that registered for the session. You will automatically get it within 48 hours. If for any reason you don't, the email that Tony put in the chat, which I think she might have already put in the chat, but that email, you can always email us there and we'll send it. Just ask for it. And as I share with people all the time, Adrian and whoever else may be new on the call today, if you go to the Hustle Winston-Salem's page on Facebook, if you go to our events or our events page and go to any of our past marketing outside the box topics, if you see any of those topics that you want the presentation from, the actual physical presentation, we will send it to you. Just send us an email. All of our videos are available from mid-March of last year to date on our Facebook page. But if you want us to send it to you, if you don't have Facebook, if you're having trouble viewing it on Facebook, you can email us and we'll send it as well. But you do have access to it immediately on our Facebook Lives, on our Facebook page. And we categorized it in a way that we think is user-friendly, where you can literally go into 2020 marketing outside the box and see all the topics from 2020, and go into 2021 marketing outside the box and see all the videos from 2021. So either way, you'll have access to them.
This might be a silly question, but for example, if I have a Facebook page for my podcast, it's actually a group page where I put some information. Do I need a paid Zoom account to be able to do what you just did to stream this Zoom call into Facebook?
No, if your Zoom account is not paid, you're going to have the same issue that we seem to be having today, even though we have a paid Zoom account. It will cut off after 40 minutes. But you can stream. You know what? Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I think I've only dealt with it for the paid account. But technically, I don't know, because right now Zoom is acting like our account isn't paid and we're streaming right now. So you may be able to at no cost, which is a good question, Lorena, because I don't know how many, hopefully all of you know this, but for the past year, we've had our community Zoom available to everyone. Mm-hmm. And it's actually available. We're ending it in 1 week because we thought the pandemic was slowing down. So we had September 1st as our day, but you always have our community Zoom, at least for the next week, to use, to stream and do stuff like that, whatever you want. We won't stop. You don't have any limitations in that way. However, as we're looking at the Delta variant, if you receive our newsletter, you would have seen it in our newsletter today. As we're watching the Delta variant, that may end up coming right back up, because it seems that everybody's going back to virtual. So yeah, you'll have it. Yeah, see, I need to call the IT. This is happening again. But yep. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, but you should be able to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Because you also, with a free account, isn't that you can only have like 3 people? The 40 minutes.
Is it only 3 people? I don't know. I don't remember.
I think it's 100 people.
I thought it was 100.
For free? No, I think for free, I think it is only like 2-3 people. Yeah.
Oh wow!
No,
I
for
didn't
free
realize.
it's 100. I have my account. It's 100 for 40 minutes.
Oh, okay. And 3 people is the maximum you can have if you go over 40 minutes. As
40
long
minutes.
as
Yeah. If you go over 40 minutes, correct. If you go over 40 minutes, you can only have 3 people on the call.
At the max. Okay. Yeah, I remember. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you again.
right.
Appreciate it.
No problem at all.
I'm gonna save
You
your
all have a
family.
great rest of your week.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, invite to our family on Facebook. Hey, Monica, I just saw your message. Thank you.
You're welcome.